Ever since July, when Secretary Vilsack visited here, he has not stopped talking about his visit here to Pennsylvania. No, really. I mean, and when I heard about it, I couldn't wait to get here. As we've been, talking about the garden and talking about this initiative, I'm like, I got to see what's going on in Philly, what's going on in Pennsylvania. So I'm thrilled to finally have the chance to come here and see for myself. And I want to thank Secretary Vilsack, not just for, being out front on this issue, but for his leadership and work at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I also want to thank Secretary Geithner also for joining us today. Both of them have just been terrific resources and support, not just in the cabinet, but just in everything that we're doing. And I don't think that many Treasury secretaries can claim childhood obesity as part of their portfolio, right? I mean, it is pretty cool to have your husband's Treasury Secretary enthusiastically a part of this initiative. So I salute you for your work. I know your wife has a lot to do with it, but that's it. I also want to thank Senators Casey and Carper as well for being here. Representatives Brady and Fatah. I'm trying to make sure I'm catching everybody. And Representative Schwartz for joining us today and for their work on behalf of the people of this state and for the people of Delaware. I want to thank Governor Rendell, Mr. Svelte. Looking good. And who's here? Every time I see him, he gets smaller and smaller. It's a good thing. He's looking good. And I also want to thank his wonderful wife, Judge Marjorie Rendell. I'm going to see you all very shortly tomorrow at the National Governors Association. I have to thank Mayor Nutter, who still is getting the award for one of the best campaign rallies we had here in Philly. He just blew out the introduction, had everybody crying, and so thank you for your support and your leadership here. Representative Evans, thank you for your outstanding work to ensure that the kids across the state can lead active, healthy lives. The work that you've done to get this going has been tremendous. Yeah. Stand up, gentlemen. And I also have to recognize Pat Burns, who hosted us at the Fresh Grocer today. Pat hosted us just as Jeff Brown hosted Secretary Vilsack and others at the supermarket last summer. It was just a wonderful tour, a wonderful experience, and I commend both of you for your leadership and for doing what's best for the people of this city. And I have to finally thank a few others. The Food Trust, the Reinvestment Fund, and the Greater Philadelphia Urban Affairs Coalition. You all have done extraordinary and some could say revolutionary work here in this city. And as you all have said consistently, you couldn't do it without each other. That has been the resonating message. So you all should be very proud to be highlighted here today for the work that you've done. It's really groundbreaking and hopefully will set the tone for what we can do throughout the country. 6 years ago, when this city had fewer supermarkets per person than almost anywhere in America, all right? That was 6 years ago, and when many folks had no access to healthy foods. 6 years ago, many neighborhoods had alarming rates of obesity-related conditions like heart disease and diabetes. The folks in this city, you all could have decided that you had an unsolvable problem on your hands, right? You could have done that. You could have decided that these problems were just too big and too complicated and too entrenched, and thrown your hands up and walked away. But instead, you all took a stand, a really important collaborative stand. You decided first that no family in this city should be spending a fortune on high-priced, low-quality foods because they have no other options. You decided that no child should be consigned to a life of poor health because of what neighborhood his or her family lives in. And you decided that you weren't going to just talk about the problem or wring your hands about the problems, but you were going to act. And that's precisely the kind of determination, the kind of commitment that we need to address the epidemic of childhood obesity in this country. And this issue is an issue of great concern to me, and I've said this before, not because I'm First Lady, or not just because I'm First Lady of this country, but because I'm a mother. And I care about my kids, and I care about all of our kids. And I know that this issue is a great concern to all of you. Everyone around this country, we all care about our kids. That's why last week we enthusiastically and proudly launched Let's Move. Let's Move is a nationwide campaign to rally this country around one single but ambitious goal, and that is to end the epidemic of childhood obesity in a generation so that the kids born today grow up with a healthy weight. Simple but ambitious. So this is what we need to do. Let's move to help families and communities make healthier decisions for their kids. Let's move to bring together our governors and our mayors, our doctors, our nurses, our businesses, our community groups, our parents, teachers, coaches, everyone, to tackle this challenge once and for all. And let's move to get our kids what they need to succeed in life. Let's move to ensure that they have the energy and the strength to succeed in school and then in the careers that they choose. Let's move to ensure that they can later live lives where they can keep up with their own kids, maybe keep up with their own grandkids, and if they're blessed, maybe their great-grandkids. And Let's Move is a simple initiative with 4 parts. And Al Bali, very well laid them out. Good job. But let me repeat. First part, let's move to give parents the tools and the information they need to make the healthy choices for their kids. So we're working to provide better labeling for our food and encourage our pediatricians to screen kids for obesity during well-child visits, but then to write a prescription for families when they identify a problem with a step-by-step sort of process for what they can actually do. And we've started this wonderful website called letsmove.gov to help provide tips and step-by-step strategies on eating well and staying active so parents don't feel alone and isolated as they're trying to figure this out. Second part, let's move to get more nutritious food in our schools. Secretary Vilsack says something he's focused on. That's why we're working not just with the Department of Agriculture, but with food suppliers, food service workers, and school officials, and investing billions of dollars to revamp our school breakfast and lunch programs so that our kids are eating foods with less sugar, fat, and salt, and eating more foods with fresh vegetables and fruits and whole grains. It's a good thing. The third part of the initiative is Let's Move. That's literally, let's move. We got to move. We got to find ways for our kids to be more active, both in and out of school. That's why we're expanding and modernizing the President's Physical Fitness Challenge. And we've recruited professional athletes from all across this country who are just ready and willing to encourage our kids to get and to stay active. And then finally, one of the reasons why we're here, the final component, let's move to ensure that all families have access to healthy, affordable food in their own communities. And the approach on this aspect is very simple. We want to replicate your success here in Pennsylvania all across America. Again, 6 years ago, this state decided to invest $30 million in fresh food financing, which has leveraged $190 million more from the private and nonprofit sectors. And so far, these investments have funded 83 supermarket projects in 34 counties, bringing nutritious food to more than 400,000 people.